everybody, welcome back to the Ohio Winter League Series 8 at Panther 335 in McComb, Ohio. Once again, a beautiful place. We encourage you to check it out. Another one of an excellent course for us to go out and play for this Winter League Series. And we are checking in for round 2, front 9 coverage. Great turnout at this event. I think we had almost 50 people out for the final event of the season. And we are going to be following shots today from myself, Greg Jurczyk, and from Six Sided Discs, James Lawrence. We're also sponsoring a CTP mystery box on hole 16, part 3, 253 feet. It's a double Mando right next to the train tracks. Fun hole. And we are picking up the action back at hole 10, par 3, 238 feet. And for the sake of simplicity, we'll be beginning the scoring again at even and then combining the round scores at the end. I throw my ESP Malta just over the path there, and we missed the James teeing off there, but caught the tail end of his shot that kind of tailed off to the left there. And he's got an easy pitch up for par. And I've got a long birdie look here, but the wind is really going to pick up over the next 9 holes. And we're going to begin to see the effects of that shortly as we kind of wait for gaps in the wind for our putts. And we saw quite a few people go out of bounds on this hole, so we're not too disappointed with picking up a couple of pars. So fairly stress-free start to our second round. And I'm going back to that Malta again. I didn't like my play on this hole in the first round, and I'm much happier with this shot. Nice. You know, for a 200-foot drive, mid-range, should get you there all day. James is going back to his buzz, and oh, it just, I think the wind just stalled it out slightly, and it couldn't quite hold it up in the air to get in the basket, but a great effort. And I think we're going to get started with a couple of birdies here. James is going to have to try not to hit his head while he taps his in there. Shout out once again to Matt there in the background. You'll see him periodically. He was on our card today as well. We offered to film his shots, but he said he'd just kind of stick to his game plan and let us worry about filming ours, so that's what we did. Back hole 12, par 4, 323. I'm going for my Prodigy F5. And I kind of thought the tailwind wouldn't quite stable it out as much as it did, I guess. In hindsight, I'm not surprised what happened, but James is going back to the buzz again, and that was just a little bit low, but he's going to end up just a smidge closer than me. I'm not quite confident in throwing like a 300-foot hyzer on this, or else I think that would be the best play. So if you've got a 320-foot hyzer, you should be landing right next to this basket. And there's that wind. I mean, that putt, I gave it so much height, and the tailwind just absolutely smacked it out of the air. So James got that wind read off of my putt. He's going to try and compensate. See if he can ring up an eagle. Oh, and that was the perfect height, but he just pulled it a little bit to the right. There's that wind. So even a 10-footer here, I'm trying to be really careful, make sure that I pay attention to the wind, and just caught high chains there and saved that one from spitting out. Keep in mind, this is an unsanctioned league series, so, oh no. I was going to say, you know, we're casual, we're competitive, but casual, so the rules of typical PDGA sanctioned play don't necessarily apply. You know, you'll see us flipping discs over occasionally instead of marking our lie. We're just, you know, generally playing by the rules, of course, but not following super strict protocol. Back to hole 13, I've got my Prodigy A1, and I thought that was a little closer than it ended up being, but it's still pretty well parked inside 10 feet for a tap out birdie. James is alternating from his Buzz to his Big Z Luna again, and that one's just trickling a little bit long.
Cool shot, bro.
And he just got a little bit of lift on that putt and pulled it up onto the band there. And you can see he's already feeling that frustration. I don't blame him. The wind is really going to pick up here in the second round, and you know, we're kind of in opposite roles now. I think James was so confident in the early holes in the first round, and my head was kind of all over the place, and the scores reflected that. And now we're kind of changing places here after I hit the big putt towards the end of round one. If you saw that video, picked up a lot of confidence coming in here to the second round, and yeah, I'm feeling good. So, you know, at the moment, pulled back a few strokes from the first round. Remember, James finished round one with a 5-stroke lead over me and most of the field. He had the hot round by some distance. And I threw a rather uncommitted backhand with my Svi. James is going for a high hyzer with his Get Freaky Zone again, which should just crash in there beyond the trees. And now with this wind, I'm trying to get the wind to help push this disc over towards the basket, and it just didn't do that. So, fine, fair enough. Here's me taking my time with the wind. And just trying to save par so we can move on and run past that baseball game that's going on behind the basket there.
Nice putt.
And James had a nice framed up putt for birdie on the first round on this hole, and he's got another one here. Pops it through the trees for a great birdie. And let's get him back on track. Back to hole 15, and now we've got an additional obstacle with cars parked in the fairway that are kind of playing into our heads a little bit. We've got a strong right to left crosswind as well, and that's just going to stall that out a little bit. And, you know, the line that I played in the first round was a hyzer over where those cars were, so I'm kind of saying, well, I don't want to deal with that, so I'll just throw my thumber, but it slips out of my hand and just skies straight up in the air, pretty short. This is me explaining how that happened. And now with a little bit of a 50-foot straddle putt. And to be honest, I was really not trying to run that, but kind of accidentally did as it turned out. But happy to have a stress-free tap out. James has the exact same putt as round one. Oh, and unfortunately the exact same result as round one, which I think we're talking about that fact right here. So that's unlucky and tough to have that happen 2 rounds in a row. And still a little bit left here, 20 feet into a headwind. And that's a great recovery putt to save par.
Good job.
Could have easily lost another stroke there. And we move on to hole 16. Par 3, 253 feet. This is our CTP Mystery Box double Mando hole. And that's one way to not miss the Mando, I guess.
I guess that's the miss, right?
Yeah.
Just throw it into the ground. I'm not sure what that was. The wind, something. James is going for his Buzz again. Just, you know, I have to be honest. I think that tree kept him from missing the Mando there. That looked like it was going to go long right over the Mando, and here I am thinking, oh, maybe I'm Paul Macbeth. Maybe I can jump at 150 feet. And it turns out I'm not. I'm Greg, and I'm not Paul Macbeth, and I can only jump putt about 80 feet.
I know.
So I've just basically laid up to the drop zone, which is not a super easy putt. And that is a big birdie. Let's check this out on replay here from James. Little spin putt into the wind. FedEx commercial in the background. And he buries it. Bottom right, Chains. Great job. Great shot, James.
Get it. Big putt. Good job.
And we've lowered the audio here as to not destroy your ears, but I can tell you that these trains are loud. And that was not a bad effort, but I don't want to say that the train is distracting. You know, I don't think it's just kind of background noise, but there's a lot going on, the wind, the train, everything else. And I'll have to take my first bogey of the second round. Back to hole 17, par 4, 315 feet, elevated basket, OB left of the path, OB in the reservoir on the right, as we know from round 1. And James just cannot believe the only 2 shots that he's really turned over in any way like that all day. And that is his ESP stalker straight into the middle of the reservoir, just like his buzz in the first round. I decided to change my play because I went out of bounds last time, so I'm throwing the roller, which is defying gravity, to climb all the way to the top of the hill. I didn't know that was possible. James just chipping down to the basket after going OB. He's going to try and scramble for par. And I'm trying to get under the wind a little bit here, and in my efforts to do that, I threw my approach directly into the ground. So things are not going according to plan here. And at this point, I'm just trying to lay up to give myself a par and move on. Try and pick up strokes on a different hole. But again, we got this wind. Ooh, and that just sneaks under the band. Save the par and get on to hole 18 after James cleans his up. And he looked a little bit closer from further out, but that's a good putt.
Good putt.
All right, moving on. Hole 18, par 3, 206, over the creek, OB path. And this is the worst case scenario. Straight into the creek, out of bounds. Never crossed on the other side either. I'm going for my streamlined flare. I'm not messing around. This headwind. Throw something super overstable and it sticks it right behind the basket.
The moans from the gallery.
So James has got his approach from down below here. You can see the CTP flags over there still blowing. And the wind just says, and carries that 40 feet left of the basket. So he's still got maybe further than that long putt here for bogey. And James is going to have to settle for a double bogey. And that's going to be a significant score change here on hole 18. I'm picking up a birdie. James is double bogey, and all of a sudden I've got a 2-stroke lead, which means I trail James by, I think, 3 strokes from the first round. And that will do it for round 2, front 9. 1 bogey on my card, a double bogey on James's, and we'll ask you to please tune in for the exciting conclusion in the final round. It is going to go down to the wire to see who's going to actually win this final event of the Ohio Winter League Series number 8. We appreciate you watching along. If you haven't been out to the course, make sure you check it out. They've got a lot of great stuff. At least two full courses out here at Panther 335. Big thanks once again to Dennis, Eric, and everybody with OWLS. It's been such a pleasure to play and sponsor these events over the winter, and it's been something fun to look forward to in the cold winter months here in Ohio. We hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hey, go watch a train somewhere. They're pretty sweet. not next to a basket.